Hello, my name is Beth Gravitt. I'm with the Kentucky Department of Education, Office of Education Technology. Today I'm going to talk to you about Microsoft Forms. Microsoft Forms will allow you to create a form or a quiz. These can be used for surveys, registrations, gaining understanding of students' knowledge, or any other situation where you want to gather information. In this session, we'll review creating a form and a quiz, sending them out, and reviewing their responses. Forms is part of the Microsoft Office 365 environment. It can also be found in several other places. Within a Teams meeting chat as part of Stream, and others are within your OneDrive, Excel Online, OneNote Online, and within PowerPoint Online. Today I'm going to focus on the web access. So let's get started. Forms will be located in your Office 365 environment. Once you've logged in, you're looking for an icon called Forms. If you don't see it in the top two rows, click All Apps. Once you've selected Forms, you'll be pathed to Your Forms. If you've not yet created a form, the screen will be blank. Otherwise, it will display any form that you have created and own. Let's take a moment and review the options on this screen. Starting at the top is My Forms. This is the default location that will be opened when clicking Forms. The Shared with Me option will be any forms that have been shared with you as a template or as part of a collaboration. Group Forms will be any forms that are tied with a team that you belong to. This screen automatically displays the most recent forms used. If you want to see all the forms or look by a particular team, you can select the drop-down. You'll see that in this view, you can see how many forms are associated with each team. Several of my teams don't have any forms, while this particular team has 16. If I knew the form I was looking for was there, I can select that, and all of the forms associated with that team will come up. It will also show me the members of the team. To the right is a search bar. You can search for a form by title or by owner name. It will only return results of forms that you have access to. Here, you can create a new form. This will path you to a blank template to create your form. An interesting point to be noted here is your form is automatically saved. It's saved as you make changes, or even if you don't make changes. If you come to this screen, the form will be saved. So if you were to decide that you didn't want it anymore and close your browser, the next time you come to Forms, that form will be waiting for you. To delete the form, hover over it, select the ellipses in the upper right corner, and select Delete. It'll ask you if you're sure, and you can select Continue. Once you've deleted a form, if you decide that you've made a mistake or you want to bring that form back, in the lower right-hand corner of the screen is a recycle bin. Forms are held in the recycle bin for 30 days. Simply click the recycle bin, select the form you want to bring back, hover over it, and select Restore. That form will be moved back to your My Forms space. If, for some reason, you've decided that you want to delete a single form permanently, you can select Delete. Or, if you want to clear your entire recycle bin, you can click Empty Recycle Bin. Once you're done here, the back button will take you back to My Forms, and you'll see that the form we used has been restored. There are a couple other options within the ellipses, which include Copy or Move. If you've created a form that you very much like the layout, or maybe the template that you've created via the view or the theme, you can copy that form to allow you to not have to rebuild the entire document. By clicking Copy, Microsoft Forms will make an exact duplicate of your form. It does not bring along any responses that you've had from your original form. Another option is to move the form. If you select Move, Microsoft Forms will display for you any teams that you're a member of. You can automatically select a team and move your form into that team. by clicking Move. You'll notice it has moved away from the My Forms category and can now be found under the Group Forms. Doing this also gives anyone in that team or group permissions to your form. To create a new quiz, select New Quiz. This works exactly as a form in the sense that it is automatically saved upon creating and will be saved throughout your building process. For now, we're going to leave this one and go create a form. So let's get started with a new form. The first thing you'll do with your form is give it a title. Let's call this Student Survey. From here, you can add a picture. If you're doing a survey about a particular item or thing, you might want to add a picture. You might want to add your school's logo. By clicking Insert Image, you'll be presented a small window where you can search Bing for a particular image, upload from your OneDrive, or upload directly from your computer. If you decide to use a Bing search, it's good to make sure the box search results show images tagged with Creative Commons license. In this case, I believe I have the Kentucky Department of Education's logo downloaded on my machine. I'll select it and click to upload. The maximum size of a picture that can be uploaded is 5 meg. The next thing I can do is enter a description about my survey. Here I'll enter Your Opinion Matters. Now we're ready to start asking questions. So I'll select Add New. Here are the different types of questions that are available to us. There are a total of 8 question types. You'll also notice that Microsoft Forms automatically, based on the information I've already given, suggest some types of questions. It knows I'm doing a student survey. It has recommended, what is your gender? What year are you in? What is your major? On this side, it also shows me the type of question. So in this case, that would be a choice question, a text. This would be a scale or a rating. I may select Add All, or I may choose to close this and create my own questions. In this case, I think I like overall, how satisfied are you with your school experience? I can select that. It will allow me to select others if I would like, but in this case, I'm just going to add the selected one. If you want to alter the question in any way, that's no problem. Just click in the question area and you'll see that an editing box will appear. Maybe I want to add some things. You'll notice that it automatically gives me additional options to add. I want to add an other option. When adding an other option, it will give the responder a text field where they can type in their answer. It's possible that I want to allow them to have multiple answers. In that case, I can select the multiple answers, which slides the slider to on. A thing I want to point out here is when multiple answers are on, the checkbox is displayed as a square. That's a simple way to look at your form and know without having to go into the edit mode whether you have selected multiple answers or a choice. When you select a choice, it is always a single selection. Multiple answers allow you to pick more than one. When in choice mode, you also have the ability here in the ellipses to make your answers a drop down rather than the radio dial. You can select to require your question. It will default to the last option you used. So for example, we've just started creating this form. So required has defaulted to off. If I change it to on, this question will be required. And Microsoft Forms will automatically assume that the next question I create will also be required. To see how your question is going to look, you can select in the upper right, Preview. We're going to go ahead and do this now, even though we have a lot more questions to go, to get a sense of how our form is looking. Our title looks good, our description is good, and our question is indeed a drop-down. If you decide you don't like the drop-down look, we go back, click in the question area, and let's change it back to a radio dial. Now let's take a preview. You may notice that in preview mode, you have two options. You can see what it will look like on a computer, which is what we are viewing here, and a mobile device. Remember, lots of those responding may be using mobile devices, so always give that a check and make sure your form looks good in a mobile device. You may also notice that your form has a built-in immersive reader, adding that level of accessibility. So let's move on and add some more questions. I select Add New. The second of the 8 options I have is text. Text will allow your responder to type in their answer. We'll ask how everyone feels about the football team, but we're going to let them type in their answer. We really have two choices here. We can do a short answer or a long answer. You'll see that it automatically defaulted to required because my previous question was required. Maybe I don't want to require this one. I can turn it off. Some of the options within the ellipses is to be able to add a restriction. A restriction allows me to restrict this to be a number. In this case, how do you feel about the football team would not be a number, so we'll not turn that on, but I'll give you an example of what that would look like. I'll add a new text box, and maybe I'm asking for their phone number. In this case, I would want to go in and restrict this so that it would be a number. You have lots of options here. You've got numbers. You can select that it be greater than or equal to, and so on. In this case, I'm just going to stick with number. That way, when someone tries to complete this field, they will not be able to type in their name and the number. So later, when you're reviewing your responses and need to sort, you'll have numbers only. I am going to make this one required. I'm going to select Add New. The next is a rating system. A rating system will allow you to ask a question and give your responder the ability to respond in either 2 to 10 ratings. So here I'm going to go ahead and just change this to 10. You can select to display this in a star or as a number. My question is already required because I've required the one prior. Within the ellipses, I have the ability to label. Label is to give my responder an indication of what 1 is versus 10. So maybe I'll say not so good to, I don't know, let's have a little fun and pick awesome. Uh-oh, we need a question. How would you rate the band? To get a sense of what this looks like, now that we've built a few more questions, I'm going to go back to preview because I want to point out one thing that differs between the computer and the mobile device. You'll see here that our rating looks pretty good. On a mobile device, it will stack those. So let's scroll down and I'll show you. It still gives the responder all the information they need. Moving on, we can select a date field. A date field is simply what it says it is. This will give the responder access to a calendar where they will select a date. So maybe I'll try your birthday. For the next, you'll have to hit the drop down. Here you have the ability to enter a ranking question. This is a question that often is not used, but it allows your responder to rank a series of answers. Now what this will do again is allow my respondent to put these items in order that they are most interested in. I'm not going to require this one. And come to think of it, I think I'm going to take Microsoft Forms out because we're already doing that. Anytime you have a question that you no longer want, you can delete it. If you want to rearrange your questions yourself, you can grab the question within the box and move it around, dropping it where you would like it. Here, the only thing available is subtitle and branching. I've not talked about either of those. The subtitle would allow you to give someone more information. I've provided them with more information about that. Branching, we're going to talk about a little later. Moving on, I select my drop down. The next option is for a scale. A scale will allow your responders to select an opinion based on a statement. Your opinions can go up to 7, and your statements can go up to 100. Turns out I don't need option 7. I'll hover over and click delete. I've now created a chart. Oh, wait, I've got a few extra statements here. Let's get rid of those as well. Now, I've provided a scale or a chart that my respondent will fill out. I'm going to require this one. Please note that when you require this question, you require a response to each statement. Next, I'm going to click Add New again, and here I'm going to select File Upload. File Upload will allow your respondent to send you a file. So we'll click OK to continue, and maybe I want the student to upload their resume. It'll allow me to enter a subtitle if I wish. If not, I can select how many files they'll upload. This is from 1 to 10. In this case, I'm going to select 1 because I should get only 1 resume. Next, you can select the file size limit. It defaults to 10 meg, but does give you the option for 100 meg or 1 gig. The other option you can do by coming to the ellipses is to select file type. This allows you to control what types of files are uploaded. In this case, if we're asking for a resume, we would most likely want it in Word, maybe a PDF, possibly an image. Most likely we would not want a video or audio resume, so we'll leave those unchecked. All right, Add New. The last option here is a Net Promoter Score. Maybe this survey is about this class. I want to know what you think about this class. I can click that and it will automatically say, how likely are you to? In this case, I may put, instead of us, how likely are you to recommend this session to a friend or colleague? There you go. My form is done. I have used every single type of question. Let's preview it and see how it looks. Okay, not bad. That one's required. All check boxes with an other. I like it. And as you scroll down, you can check each and every one of these. Another thing you can do while you're in preview mode is test your form. See how it works. So let's do that. So here, I'll say I'm satisfied. Here, I don't have to. It's not required, so I'm not going to leave an answer there. Let's try to type in my name here and see how that works. Oh, nope. It immediately tells me that that value must be a number, which is what we're looking for. There we go. How would I rate the band? Well, of course, they're awesome. What activity would I like to see this year? This is the ranking question that we talked about earlier. So you'll see that I will use arrows to move items up or down in the list. I definitely want to do the fun club. And Microsoft Teams is pretty great too. So that's the order that I will leave them in. For the scale, because I have selected that it be required, I am going to have to answer them all. For now, I'm going to answer only 2 so we can see what happens. When you select to upload a file, it will set your search parameters to only the type of file that has been allowed. If the individual answering selects from custom files to all files, and finds a document that's not allowed and selects it, it will give them an error message that the required file type is incorrect. So let's go back and do this right. I'll upload that logo rather than my resume. And then the very last question is, how likely are you to recommend this session to a friend or colleague? And I'll select 5. I can click Submit, and it immediately tells me that I skipped part of this question. I'll go back and I'll answer those. Now when I submit, I'll be notified that my response has been accepted. When I leave preview mode, you'll see that I now have a response. So we know the form works. Another thing that we can do to our form is set a theme for the form. By clicking Theme, you'll automatically be presented with some things that Microsoft has available. So you'll see that there are several available out there that I could choose from. If these are too busy for you, you can select a color just to give your form an accent. Or you can upload a custom theme. By clicking the plus button, you can upload an image or a particular custom color. This will path you to the Bing search, a OneDrive, or an upload as we saw before. In this case, I think I really like all the students. So I'm going to leave that one. The next option would be to share the form. By selecting Share, I can select who I want to send it to and collect responses from. It will default to people in your organization. You can send it outside of your organization by selecting the Anyone with Link Can Respond. Something to note here is when you send it to people within your organization, it will automatically collect their name and email address because they're logged in. If you send it to anyone with a link, it will automatically respond as anonymous because that anyone will not be logged in. If you want to send it to anyone and collect maybe only their name or a district, make sure you add that as a question on your form. If I select Anyone with Link Can Respond, I will still know who the respondent was. I can select to copy, which will copy a link for me that I can provide to them in an email, in a newsletter, on a web page, or I can select to download a QR code that I could add to a pamphlet, put on a poster in school. If you are putting it on a website, you can embed the document directly in the website, or you can send it out directly from here by clicking the email icon. Now you have a couple other share options. Maybe I want to share this as a template. So what this will do is give me a link to a duplicate of my form. I will be sharing this with a colleague or a peer who needs to use a form similar, allowing them to not have to reinvent the wheel, but also not affecting my form. Another option is I may share to collaborate. I may click here and decide that I want to collaborate with others that have an Office 365 work or school account, people in my organization, or specific people. And if I select specific people, I will have to enter their information. So now Regina has been added with access. I can click copy and copy the link, which I'll send to her, and we can work on this collaboratively together or independently because I have given her an ownership or an ability to edit my form. A few other fun settings are in the ellipses. If you come to the ellipses and select settings, you can determine again who can fill out the form. Under options for responses, you can determine that you are ready to accept responses or set a start date. Maybe you want to set an end date. We're going to have this form end on Monday. You can select to shuffle your questions if you don't want your questions to be in the same order for each respondent. By selecting Shuffle Questions, it will default to all questions. If you want to lock a particular question or questions, you can select Lock Questions and give it the number of the question that you wish to lock. You can also customize your thank you message. Right now it says your response was submitted. Maybe you want to give them a few more words. Thanks for taking the time. Or we'll let you know what our responses are by a certain date. You can also select to get an email notification of each response. While it seems like a great idea, I would caution you to think about how many people you are sending your form out to. If you're sending it out to a large group of hundreds of people, remember, every time someone responds, you will receive an email. So now you've built your form and shared it out. It's time to check the responses. To do that, you'll come back into Office 365, back to Forms, and locate your form. You'll see that each form shows how many responses it's received. Some of my example forms, this one's got 5 responses, and this form has expired. This particular has 4 responses. So I'll select my survey, I'll select the Responses tab, and here are the responses. Now you'll see with only one response, it's very limited, but it does give you an idea of what's available here. It will tell you how many responses you have, what the average time to complete it was, and what the status of your current form is. It will show you each question's responses. I did not enter my name, so that is blank. You can see here in a graph form what these would be. And each of these, because they are different types of forms, a lot of these were text forms or averaging, will show you the data. These will show you the choices, all in a nice graph form. If you want to drill down to an individual question, you can select more details and it will go in. It will show you a list of each respondent, who they are and what their answer was. You can move through your questions forward and backwards using arrows that are provided, and once you're done, you can close that. If you want to view the results in a whole, you can review here and you'll see that this shows that I'm the first respondent. It will show you my name. If there were others, I could drop down and find someone. It shows you how long it took me to complete the form, and I could path through others here. And you can see my answers to the form. Another option is to open it in Excel. By clicking Open in Excel, it will download your form's responses to your machine, and you can open it and see the answers. This allows you to sort by particular answers and break up your data however you wish. If you would like to share out the more decorative view with your respondents, you can select to create either a summary link, or you can select to print your summary. You don't actually have to print it. You may select to print, or you may select to save it as a PDF or to a Google Drive, in which case this will create a document there for you that you can share out with your respondents. So that's how you check your responses. What if you want to use this form over again to gauge future responses? Certainly, your best bet would be to duplicate the form so that you can retain your old responses. But maybe you've discovered that your responses are flawed, or maybe you've tested it so many times that you want to clear your responses out before sending it out to everyone. You can also do that within the ellipses by selecting Delete All Responses. And it will do just that. It will delete all of your responses, and they will be deleted permanently. So I'm going to go ahead and say delete, and you'll see what happens. It takes away my response information. So that is how we do a form. To give you some other ideas on forms, I'll show you a few that I've created as well. We talked about the student satisfaction survey. Here's one that we actually did. So that's an idea of how you can make a form look. We've done a few forms with our KDE background. This particular form was used as a registration for a particular conference. When I click preview, you'll see that our KDE logo appears very letterhead-like. We also have our background. So that is something you could do for your school if you so choose. Now, let's talk about quizzes. Rather than building a whole new quiz, we'll look at a couple that I already have. What makes a quiz different from a form? Basically, a quiz is a form, but it allows you the ability to identify the correct answer. It also allows you the ability to add points to a question, and it will automatically score the quiz at the end. So let's take a look at the 7th grade social studies test. In this case, the teacher has selected to add a picture and ask the students, in what country is this located? Because this is a text, the correct answer is France, and it will have to be exactly that. If you want to allow variations of spelling, you can add those as additional answers. Here is where you would add the points that this particular question is worth. Maybe I'm going to make this one worth 40 points. And everything else works exactly like the previous form that we looked at. Now, something we didn't talk about in forms, but works the same way in forms and quizzes, is right here, where I can copy a question. Maybe I really like the layout of this question. Maybe the points and everything are exactly the way I want that, and I can just simply copy that question. And instead, I could change my picture or I could change my answer, but the question is there. The other thing I can do is realize that I didn't mean to do that and delete a question. Moving on down this particular one, our next question was, who was the 16th president of the United States? As you can see, again, it has allowed me to identify the correct answer. Another thing it will allow me to do is give feedback. So, for Jones, I can select to display a message to the respondent who selects this answer as, there hasn't been a President Jones yet. Try again. And maybe with Washington, he was the first. But if they get Lincoln, I can tell them a little more about Lincoln. Or if they select Clinton, I can explain to them that he was the 42nd. So they learn even from mistakes. My point value again is 25 on this particular one. My third question is, when did World War I begin? So I've given them the calendar option here. You can see it's worth 25 points. If I decide I don't want to do the calendar option and I actually want them to write the date in, I can change the type of this question. But for right now, we'll leave it as a calendar. In this particular case, the teacher used the ability to insert an image and selected a video. You can select a video only from YouTube because you'll actually enter the link. But in this particular video, if the student watches the video, they actually will be given all of the answers and all of them correctly. Now you can see here that I've played with this a bit and I've given myself a lot of correct answers for the ship that was used. So I'll take out the incorrect answers by simply removing, unchecking those. So here are my correct answers. This one is also worth 25, and you'll notice I have set it to multiple answers because I'm really wanting multiple. I've really asked a multiple part question: the date, the ship, and the who. If we want to take a look at this in preview mode, this is what my quiz looks like. Certainly would give any teacher a good understanding of what a student had learned from a particular lesson. So let's give this a shot. You'll see that this form allows only one response per person. I've already filled this out. So we're going to pause here for just a split second and I'm going to come back as somebody else. All right, we're back. Now I'll click submit. And you'll see that it tells me my response was accepted. I can select to view results. I missed number 1. Oh, I did very poorly. So you can see that the only points I was awarded was for Lincoln, even though part of my answer here was correct. I will tell you, if you give a multiple choice like that, the points are for the entire question. So break that up into 3 if you don't want that situation to happen. But I can see here that I got 25 of 115 points. So if I come back over here to me again, we'll see that I have 2 responses to this. The one I did originally and the one I just did for you all. This shows me, as a teacher, what the average score is, and obviously I don't know my 7th grade social studies very well. It shows you that my quiz is still active. It allows me to review the answers, so I could come in and see how people are answering. So this is how I answered the first time, and this is how respondent 1, which is what I just did with you guys, answered the second time. So I can see by student how they're doing. I can also come back. I could select to post the scores. I can select which scores I want to post, or I could have selected all right there and they would have posted. I can do any of the other things that I have shown you. I can open it Excel. I can delete all the responses. I can print a summary or get a summary link. So that is really what sets a quiz apart from a form, is the ability to score it, the ability to determine a correct answer. I want to show you one more form that I already have prepared and unfortunately am as good at as the last one you just saw, which is an 8th grade math quiz, because this is the one other thing that a quiz does that a form does not, which is allow you to do math. To give you an example, I want to select this problem right here. I'm sure if there are any math teachers on this session, you have struggled attempting to type out a math problem correctly in some of the form options that are out there. And you have probably found that what you end up with, and all I have done is click on this question. I'm going to go to the ellipses here, and I'm going to uncheck math so that you'll see what this looks like. You'll find that you end up with something that looks a lot like this when you're trying to show a complex math problem in plain text. Within Quiz, it will allow you, no matter the type of question, to select right here and select the option Math, which is great because it will allow you to have the formula and type in the correct information using a math structure. So you can see here, if I start to type, it's going to give me everything I need right here to do that. The other nice thing about math is it will also suggest answers and will actually identify you the correct answer. So in this case, if I wanted to show my answers in exact rather than in a whole, I could have selected to click all and it would have identified the correct question. It also does a better job at showing degrees. This particular one doesn't really need it, and this obviously is nice the way it looks. So that is the difference between math and solid text. That is an overview of Microsoft Forms and quizzes and how they work and may be applied. I hope this session has been of some benefit to you. If you need to reach out to me, again, my name is Beth Gravitt, and you can reach me at beth.gravitt@education.ky.gov. Thank you for your time.